brighter. Get closer to the soul. All your burdens so much lighter. Get closer to the soul. It helps you see things just a little clearer. Get closer to the soul. Love and feelings get nearer. When spirit people come together, it's just a beautiful thing to see. They come to talk about doing good, spreading love, philosophy. Closer to the soul. You'll find peace in confusion. Get closer to the soul. And happiness, it won't be just an illusion. Get closer to the soul. It'll make your day, make it oh so bright. Get closer to the soul. Yeah, little children, your delight. I started dealing with reality, and once I did, I found the goodness in me. And I decided to pass it to you. That's what I should do. Don't you agree? We'll spread the feeling across the nation. Gonna be the good folks springing out from everywhere. They come to tell you that deep inside, love abides within you. Closer to the soul. Conversation changes for the better. Get closer to the soul. Yeah, never have to worry about the weather. Closer to the soul. Get closer, closer to the soul. Yeah. Closer to the soul. Closer to the soul. Don't you miss out, don't you miss out on it, come on, yeah, closer to the source, I love peace, joy, yeah, closer to the source, yeah, closer to the source. Talk about peace of mind, talk about peace of mind, talk about peace of mind, keep this feeling all the time, yeah. Yeah, closer to the source. Yeah, closer to the source. Closer to the soul. Yeah, closer to the source. Yeah, closer to the source.
Well, since I got on a little bit early, I thought I'd let it play through a little bit, and so everyone can enjoy all the words and everything. I love the way this song just describes that feeling of you know that you're walking the right road. That it's a feeling of being sure that you're you're going in the right direction and finding a little bit more security in your decisions in your life. It's that confidence that you can go to Holy Spirit in the silence, and you know that you're going to get some direction one way or the other, and that is Leroy Hudson. Hudson, I think this was back in the '80s from his album Closer to the Source. So, anyways, I guess I will start my talk tonight. I just want to welcome everybody here tonight. I'm in the middle of doing a whole bunch of stuff here in my I don't want to say ego life, but in my regular day-to-day body life. I'm moving, not only moving from my apartment, I'm moving into a home, which is really great. There was some circumstances that came up where I thought that I had the right house and someone beat me to it, but it turned out to work out even better because another one came available and which was better than what I had thought, and it was right in the same neighborhood. And so, I mean, it worked out perfect. So I got my two dogs here with me, and so they got themselves a little backyard. They can run and play and go potty and all that good stuff out in the backyard. So I don't have to worry about that. And got myself a garage so I can park my car in it. And I got laundry hookups, washer and dryer. I got central air and heat, like all of those things that I took for granted. And when I moved over here to LA from Las Vegas, um, I thought all of that kind of stuff was normal, for a while. But I moved in over here. I couldn't find a place. I had all that stuff that didn't cost an arm and a leg. And so when I came from Vegas, I wasn't making a whole lot of money, but so things are getting better on that end. But I imagine even if they weren't dollar wise, it is just the movement of my consciousness that is, even if I had to stay here or even downgrade or whatever, it's what I choose my experience to be that really determines the quality of my life. So I've been getting ready and doing that and doing all the paperwork, and then also the office is moving. That's the reason for the move because I want to be close to the office so I can go home for lunch, have a nice healthy lunch, and meditate and do my practice or whatever it has to do with that day because I do in the morning. I get up at 5 and I have to I be in at work at 8 o'clock, and so I get up with plenty of time so I can have a good breakfast, and I do my morning work, my meditation, and get my head right and straight, and I get my manna for the day. I don't rely on yesterday's manna. I get my manna for the day, and lunchtime I do something at least, 15 minutes or whatever, and then in the evening time I'm at it again. It's um, something that really, what else is my life worth except being able to have um, my consciousness trained, through the mind training, so I can experience the life, the well, the love, the happiness, the companionship of everybody that I am involved with. So That's a little bit of a personal issue with what I'm doing with moving, but I did have to go to Las Vegas for some business. I had to go pick up some money from the contractors board, and so when I got down there, they had mailed it out, and they mailed it to my previous address, and so now I've got $10,000 out there that no one can find, doesn't know where it's at or whatever. And you know, in the past, I think I would get really upset about it and being in fear that, oh, somebody cashed it, I'm never going to see it again. And you know, where I'm at right now is that, oh well, if it shows up, that'd be nice. It would really be nice. But if it doesn't, I know that really doesn't mean anything. There's nothing that's going to happen to me. Um, you know, it doesn't bother me. So whatever it is to be, then I'm totally fine with it. I've been doing this lesson in the course. Actually, it's a Pathways of Light class that I'm doing with my friends, and or with a friend. And you know, one of the things that we're studying is that there's nothing material, nothing on the outside that could do anything to you, because we're spiritual beings, and all power is invisible, and it isn't anything to do with the materials. So the dollars, one way or the other, is an illusion for me, and so to worry about it would really be believing that something material, something of the world, can affect me one way or the other just by the intrinsic value of it. And so I'm getting that a little bit more and more each day in dealing with everyday life. So one of the things that happened to me the last week was, as I was doing this kind of studying or going through the classwork, was in the meditation I got this concept of the garden, and it's almost like the Garden of Eden, but um, what it defined for me was that really my existence as a spiritual being is like being in a garden. And this garden has everything that I'll ever need to live. And that's like with a capital L, Live, that I need to live. And in a spiritual sense, what really is life for us in our material physical world? And even in our material physical world, where we do have these bodies, but we don't have to be identified with them. But even in this illusion, we're still taken care of. We're still cared for. We're still supported in God's care in every way, and not just us and everything else. Um, so the way I in my meditation had put this place, concept, essence, and sense of this garden is just starting from my body, that um, all of the millions, billions of cells that are that exist in there, and all of the different chemical reactions and the electrical reactions and everything that it takes to for a body to even exist is all sustained, maintained, and created by God, by intelligence, by order, by harmony. Everything has to be in harmony, and it is like beyond my understanding how, and even after all of these years, science, everyone, they cannot really, they have an understanding of what the body does, how it functions, and all that, but they're still working on it. They're still trying to figure it out. They're still, it's like an endless journey of, well, just probably just like the whole physical world is, with well, and the more they get to it, the more they realize the nothingness that it really is, that it's just space, and it's space filled with energy and intelligence and order. So the the amount of worrying that we have got to do for this body to function is very minimal. We make a decision what we're going to have for lunch. We stuff it in our mouth and chew on it, and then we don't have to worry about it getting digested. We can pick this food up, and let's say, for example, it's an apple. We can go get it because we know we can see it. We can, which means like something, this intelligence is seeing it for us. Because, I, in my self, of myself, cannot really put a chemical reaction or electrical reaction or whatever to make myself see. It's all done for me. There's an awareness intelligence that does that for me. Same thing with how it digests for me, and when I bite into it, I can taste it. That's being something is tasting it for me. And I can hear it when it crunches and something. There's an intelligence, which I know as life, that is hearing that for me. So the body just being that one starting point for me is all of these sophisticated and complicated and unknown processes of just to for me to be even talking right now, from where I could take an idea and make this sound, vocal cords, and I got all developed, and I mean all of this is just amazing to me. But all of this is something that I am not doing on my own. I could never create this on my own. You know, there is an intelligence that is doing it for me, and I believe it's doing it as me, and it is who I am as life. And then I see my dogs here. There's that same intelligence is using the same principles, same laws that it invented it to live as that and live for that also. And so we have this, and even my brother, everybody that's listening to this, the same thing. Like the same intelligence is living as you. And so I imagine this intelligence as really the one body, and we're like the cells of the body, and that makes us one because it's that one consciousness that is defining the whole body of life as us. And that's just where I'm taking it right now. It's just on the physical level, and so I would be build up on build up on that from there. But um, when something is defined as alive, like you, me, everyone else, we have everything that we need in order to fit that definition of being alive, having life, everything that God intended it to be. And so we're all whole, complete, um, just and just perfect, just perfect. And so as what has happened uh, for me because of this identification that I have with my body, I believe that it stops right there. Like there's some kind of barrier, border that my body stops and then nothing begins. But it's not true. It can't be because there is intelligence in everything. Intelligence, order, harmony is what is the basis for for an orderly life that can function um, on a day-to-day basis, year to year, forever basis. And so, because I have this belief in my body, then I have developed worries. I've developed fears because I don't trust what is outside of my body, that it would work with the same precision, the same um, trust, the same laws of everything that belongs to my body. I don't trust what I can't see that can do the same thing. And so when I find myself not believing in this harmony that is called life, and then we're all as one in this life because it is all one intelligence, then I found the term as I was doing this meditation that I'm out of the garden. I didn't want to say that, okay, I'm not in the garden, I'm in the desert, but I love the desert, so I didn't want that image in my head. But anything that gives me any kind of worry, any kind of discomfort, then I am not trusting life. I'm not trusting who I am is as my spiritual essence, because it really is that we have everything that that we need, just as our bodies. If we don't have anything else but that, and there are civilizations that still to this day right now, that's all they have. They have their bodies, but they don't see that their separation, because you see them honoring the trees, the water, the sun, all the things that give them life. And if they're going to kill an animal, they to eat it, they praise it, thank it, and so they know everything that it is related to it. So in that sense, in that part is like my made up garden concept, that it is in a microcosm, that not only did God create our bodies perfect and a unit kind, supposedly of life that will sustain our awareness of who we are, but also everything outside of it, as far as food is concerned, air, everything that we need to live, that we sense or we believe that is outside of us still is provided for us as far as everything is concerned. If that, like I was trying to say, if there's anything that um, we needed, if we decide, okay, I'm going to go to Costa Rica and I'm going to, live in the jungle and all that, then as far as life is concerned, you could live a life there and be perfectly happy, perfectly content, and that would be what I would consider, the garden. That concept of this is really all that I have to. I don't want to say worry about, but this is all that that's all that I need. And like I said, I don't want to be, this is all I need to concern myself about, but in a material world, really, this is all I really need to concern myself about is, to have something to eat and take care of myself. And can give me, that in itself will give me all the life that I need, everything I need to be happy. I had to take a drink of tomato juice. So that's the way I have this concept of the garden. Anything that is outside of this garden is what is made up, is um, something made up that I believe that I need to bring in to God's garden in order for me to be happy, in order for me to live. So when I meditate on this concept and get real clear on life, uh, what I really need to live, because uh, in our material body, that is the one thing, or if I can let me just speak for myself. That is what and the only thing that I am worried about is dying, is losing my identity. And so everything that me as a body, the only thing is concerned about and has the most fear is of dying. And so, and it should not be a problem, because if I look at who I am and I have everything, that worry should not concern me. But growing up in separation like this, I have created in my mind a whole lot of illusions, a whole lot of everything that I believe signifies my identity and signifies that these are these things that I need in life. And that is what I would equate as the ego. And this concept is kind of like, I don't know, you can call it a gimmick, but the Holy Spirit uses everything to get that point across, that we are spirit and we are not the body. And when we're not, and just like being in the garden, and everything is given to us for life, this is the same thing, but it's in a spiritual sense. We are eternal. We can never die. We have everything that we need. But in my experience, so many different things that illusions that come up, that this concept brings me back from. Like if there's anything financial happening in my life, or we can't pay a bill, or worried about getting a raise, or worrying about your next meal, or because of the money, that is like a concept. And if I feel uncomfortable, I that is a concept I'm thinking out of the garden, which means it's not real because I don't need it to live because I have everything I need to live. And so even if, let's say, if I keep going with that concept about, oh, I need to pay the rent, I'm going to have a place to live. Okay, suppose I get kicked out. What's the worst thing that could happen? You know what I mean? I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die. And so, uh, but the ego wants to protect that precious identity that it has. Um, and the the way that it has been working uh, for me is any kind of um, displeasure or any kind of bother or whatever. It when I take this concept and meditate on it, I can get there, um, saying that okay, this is truth for me, and this is illusion. If I'm bothered by something, then that's telling me that that is an illusion because it's not something that I really need to live. I don't need it for my life. And so as if I look into that, it like for me 100% of the time it is something that I really do not need to live as I had defined life when I first started this talk. And I was reading a little bit of Brent Haskell's Journey Beyond Words, and there's this passage that really summed up what my concept of the garden was. Let's see if I can read it without my glasses. Really beautiful. It's This is what his what he's saying. Okay, you shall see the sky, the trees, the birds, and the grass. You shall feel the wind. You shall see your brothers playing out their roles with all their great passion. And you, in your true perception, shall know you are looking upon freely and without value the product of your own creative power. And in a blade of grass created by you, the Son of God, in all its complexity, in all its cycles of growing and dying, nourishing itself in the sunlight and the water, anchoring itself in the soil, in that blade of grass you shall see the true beauty and wonder of what you are. And as you look upon a single flower or a bird flying through the sky, you shall, when you first learn to truly see, wish to fall on your knees in admiration and awe of that which has created such beauty. Then your peace and your freedom shall come when you realize within your being, beyond your thinking, that the awe, the admiration you feel in that moment is due only unto yourself, capital S. For you are one with God and all of life. So when I read that, I go, man, alive, that is exactly what in my meditation had come to me. I think it's so like wow, so awesome. But and that chapter is True Perception from Journey Beyond Words by Brent Haskell, and I believe he is going to be at a retreat with Regina Dawn Akers sometime in February, and I'm still like on the fence of should I or can I go or not. I want to go, and if at all possible, I will definitely be there. But this book is so good. On every single chapter is just oh. So good. So yeah, the way that he's putting it, as God, because only God can create. The ego can only invent, make things up, and only God can create. And so as we are that vision of God, and we realize our relationship, that we are that intelligence, that order, that lives as our body and lives as us. That is how we create the world, is by recognizing that world. And we create that world, is our sense of reality in it. We see God, what God's creations are, for what they really for what they really are. They are the same. They are who we are, and we create it. We create it by our recognition of it. So and that's the way I've been using the whole garden concept, is exactly the same way. I, as the higher self, am self-sufficient in every way. I am that creative force that can create my abundance, just by changing my my I don't want to say my thinking, but changing my awareness that it's already all there. It's all just up for recognition. It's in that recognition, it's like, why am I gonna? There is no place else outside to really look for it. It is because there's nothing there, nothing else exists from everything. It's like, when he's talking about grass, it's like, you know, um, looking for grass, um, looking for grass where grass doesn't exist. I don't know, looking for grass in outer space, or just, it's like, the whole thing about, looking for life, or looking for love, or looking for happiness. Like, it's out there floating around someplace, but it is who we are. It's our identity. And that's the creative process. We create that reality by recognizing and joining it, because it's already there. It's already created by God, and we're co-creators by our recognition of it. So, anyways, I really like that. Another thing about this, about Journey Beyond Words, that I like, is in that same theme. He speaks of the right use of imagination, which is something that is a little bit new to me. We use our ego. Our ego uses that part of our imagination to see failure, to see fear, to make up all kinds of scenarios that are not going to benefit us, that back up the separate belief that we have of who we are. So he has this, what he had written, but actually, it's not him writing it. He was describing as Jesus Christ, and which is saying that this book is scribed from the same Jesus Christ as the Course in Miracles. But he's talking about the correct use of imagination, is that we can use that same uh, power, that same force, that same ability to imagine the um, the recognition of God, to recognize that sense of order, that sense of intelligence, that sense of happiness, that sense of peace that I am lacking in my life. It's not the correct use of imagination is not imagining, let's say, abundance as a bunch of money. It's not trying to use your imagination as something outside of me is going to give me that, like love, like recognizing a my perfect soulmate or whatever. Uh, Trying to imagine that or or peace, trying to imagine the perfect situations and conditions outside of myself that are going to give me peace. That is not what he's talking about the correct use of imagination. What he's talking about is using the imagination to to imagine that sense of holiness that that you are, that use the imagination to imagine that sense of love that you are, that spirit of love that you are, because that's what we are. We are that spirit, that spirit of holiness of who we are. It is in and in when we're as we're imagining that spirit of the holiness or love that we are. Well, what are the qualities of holiness? Or the qualities of compassion. Those are the creative are the creations of God. We imagine those creations of God is what he's talking about the correct use of imagination, because we're in a place where we really don't know what they are. And the best we can do is imagine them, which is way better than imagining the opposite. So I don't think it's like something like that, the fake it till you make it, because you could be faking something that's not real. It's not going to bring you happiness, but the correct use of imagination is really I don't know. I could probably go through the definition of mind training also, because that is basically what we're doing with the mind training, is that we are understanding truth and the concept, which is a different way of seeing things. uh, I saw this video on Facebook about, I don't know how many people have seen this, about this guy that invented this bike that no one can ride. And all he did was the handlebars, instead of, when you turn them to the right, they would go left, and vice versa, because we trained our mind that it's only going to go one way. If we're going to ride the bike and go right, then it's going to go right. Left, it's going to go left. So that's all he did, and no one could ride that bike. I mean, they couldn't even go a couple feet without falling off that bike, because that memory was so ingrained in that in the memory, in the subconscious. Like his explanation was, you get on a bike and you ride it. It's like, once you learn how to bike, it's like how to ride a bike. It's there. They even have that expression. It's just like riding a bike. That it's going to come back to you once you learn how to do it. Then you got it. You know. So, but no one could ride that bike, and it took him, I think it was 8 months, in order to where he could finally ride it. And he had a son, and his son didn't take very long. It took him, I think, 3 weeks or something like that in order to learn how to ride it the other way. Um, but the reason I'm saying this is that of the mind training is what came up for me, and that is the way that we have learned. Just like riding that bike, we've learned to think in a certain way, and we can't think another way until we have trained ourselves for a sufficient amount of time. And then he said, as soon as at when he was kept on trying to ride this bike, it just happened one day where he could. It was like he had to um, relearn, or he had to learn something new, something different in order to override what he had learned. And so that is what we are doing with doing this coursework is we can't use the same thinking that we're trying to get rid of. We can't use the same thinking that brings us stress to get rid of stress. We can't solve the problem with the same kind of thinking. It's like riding the bike, the way we always knew. And so we're never going to learn how to ride the bike the other way because our minds have been conditioned, the subconscious have been conditioned to that point where it's just automatic. So once I saw that, I started thinking about that, and then I was able to give myself a really big break because, um, like he was saying, everybody thought that they could ride that bike, they'd get on it, and they couldn't do it. They get frustrated or mad or whatever, and that's what I do when I some of these concepts. I understand them, I understand them, and then 10 minutes, then I'm already judging somebody or I'm getting upset about something, because it's in some crazy way, or I believe that I'm supposed to just get it, and so I judge myself for not getting it. I get real hard, real frustrated, um, frustrated for not being able to um, carry out what I want to, as far as changing my thinking, or changing my awareness, or actually changing my belief of who I really am. So looking at that video uh, kind of shined on a different understanding that I should take it easy on myself because it's going to take a while to to break my mind of the old ways of thinking. Now, having said all of that, I still do believe that a person does not have to spend the 8 months to ride that bike. I think that there is what people would call a miracle in that would define all that, because we are not, as spiritual beings, we are not bound by any kind of physical laws of the body. But unfortunately, we still have to use parts of our brain and all that to survive, because we were evolved from animals, that needed to survive. So we still have that instinct. And I was listening to Dr. Hawkins, and that's what he's saying, that what our dilemma was in our minds is that we still have to evolve um, out of that physical survival aspect in order to be the spiritual people that we are. So I don't know if that might, hopefully that'll do help somebody else out, as far as if you have some judgments about yourself, that you're not smart enough, or you're not committed enough, or you're not patient enough, or whatever it is. It's you know it's just the way that we have been brought up. Everybody's been brought up differently, and have that been trained that things were a certain way or whatever. And so it's a matter of just like him, just on that bike, just it was like every day for 8 months. Got up, kept on trying, got up, kept on trying. So when if anybody out there wakes up in the morning and is feeling like whatever, and going, man, another day, but then and that happens to be sometimes I wake up and I'm not feeling it, and it's like, okay, well, I got to sit down and I got to be quiet, and I've got to do the work. I like calling it, I get my manna for the day because I can't live on yesterday's manna. So it is a practice that we got to just every single day. How it takes every person, how long it's going to take. Um, and I know I like listening to Veronica because one of her big things is the devotion, having that devotion to yourself, to and the devotion to love, to practice it and dedicate to happiness, dedicate to the truth of who you are, and even sometimes that you don't believe it. And so then one other thing that came across this weekend, there's this and on Facebook, there's this girl from, I believe, Mexico. She writes some really beautiful stuff. She's an artist, paints really beautiful things, but it's all in Spanish. And so one day she puts up in Spanish, only love is real, everything else is illusion. So then I wrote back, the initials UCEM, which is Un Curso de Milagros, and I just put the initials there, thinking that she was a course student. So she writes back and says, I don't know what that means. And so I told her it's Un Curso de Milagros. She says, well, I haven't read that book. And I go, well, you should read that book because I think you'd really like it a lot. And so a little bit of time goes by, and then so she sends back this article to me, and tells me that it is that the authors took part in this project called MK Ultra, which is some kind of CIA project that the CIA did with mind control. And so, and I told her, okay, yeah, it's mind control. I was thinking, okay, yeah, mind training, yeah, it's mind training, for for Christ consciousness, because I never heard of that. I never didn't even know what the heck she was talking about. I thought it was just misinformation. But then so she insisted that I read it, and wasn't even going to read it. So I go, okay, I'll read it. But the what I read was a real I don't know. I think it's like a sinister spin to discredit what they were doing. But then there is an article that is written by someone. I think it's by the Foundation of Inner Peace or something. An article where he did get funding from this the CIA on different psychological projects. So then again, my ego went, took that and was deciding, well, maybe, you know, um, since there all of this mind training and everything is brought up in the course, maybe what if he just wrote it himself along with it instead of Jesus and all that. So my mind was going all crazy like that, you know. But the the thing that and the reason that I'm even bringing this up is because there probably was a time if I would have read that before I know what I know now about the course, then I probably would not have even picked it up, But I imagine it's not really out there that much because I've been really in the course for going on 5 years, and I never heard something like that before ever. But the point being is that I have done so much work with it is that I know what the experience is. I know that that it works for me in my life, and it makes sense, and it is changing my awareness from something that never has changed before. I am in that process of riding that bicycle, with the backwards handlebars, and so that by realizing that I was fortunate enough to dodge that, because I probably would have thought that whatever is true. But then my ego got a hold of it and said, well, what if it is true? But the thing is that it's like I don't even care who the wrote the book. I don't care if Chapo Guzman wrote the book. It doesn't matter. Even if Bill Tedford did write it on himself, he still is the Christ anyways. His essence is the Christ as far as I'm concerned. And everything that came out of it has really changed my life. It is just so great. And so and the reason I'm saying this is because I'm really relying on my own experience of who I am and self, and that's what the course has given me. It's given me my life back. It gave me where less and less I'm looking outside the garden, and focusing and being present of my own experience, my own awareness of life, and not what someone's making something else up to be. And the thing is, even if it was true, it's still something that's out of the garden. It still doesn't even, it has no life to it. It can't do anything. It has nothing to do with our identity of who we are, unless we choose to make it something, you know. And so I was happy with the how it all resolved, that I was able to just, I tangled with it a little bit with my ego and everything, but it was the experience that the course has given me, that is unmistakable, that is re returning my life, my recognition of who I truly am to me. So if anybody really ever comes around to that or whatever, you know what I mean? You can find it on the internet, and but if you're a course student, you're gonna wind up exactly where I'm at. It doesn't um, it doesn't mean anything. It's something up outside of the garden. It's not created by God. It's definitely not created by God, so there's no truth in it. So, anyways, with that, I looks like I'm down to my last minute. I just want to express the gratitude of being able to talk here and do this show every Wednesday. I was on Thursdays, but now I'm moved over to Wednesdays, and which is fine, with me. And I'm just happy and very grateful to be able to teach what I really need to learn. It is all of my experiences that I'm talking about. I don't know the the nuts and bolts of my body and what makes everything go, but I'm sincere in what I'm trying to say and talk about is what my experience, and hopefully I can shine some light and make somebody else's life easier. So until next week, um, I'll be moving closer and closer to the source. Good night, everybody.